What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be mucking about with a new toy. Shrink a stretcher time. You might have seen before, Steve-O got me this because we're going to have a go at using it to do bits of fabrication on his bike. Thinking things like the seat hump and various other bits and pieces, maybe the front fend, I don't know. But this is, I've never played with one of these before, so I am quite looking forward to this and seeing what sort of shapes we can get out of it and how it all works and all that kind of stuff. I've never played with one before, so parts of this could be hysterical. If you don't know what a shrinker stretcher is, basically if you was to have a piece of metal like this and you were to shrink the edge of it, essentially this then becomes smaller than it used to be and the inside bit obviously stays the same, so it starts to curve over, and you can stretch it as well, so you can make it go the other way. Normally you use this sort just to put simple bends into a piece of metal, so like a trim piece or, you know, around a window or I don't know, stuff like that basically. And it's a short throat one, so you can only get like an inch of the material into the jaws. It's a Met professional tool. I've never had a professional tool before. But essentially all that happens is you put the bit of metal in there, chomp down with this lever, and I don't know if you can see, but it presses down on this lever and it moves the jaw up and down. So you get separate jaws. The shrinker one is in it, this is the stretcher one, and you just undo it and pop it out and that's it. But this is all it is inside. There's really not a lot to it. I don't know if you can see this. Could I zoom in on that? Let's bring you in a bit closer. Right, hopefully you can see this a bit better now. So yeah, basically with this, hang on, where are we? So you operate the lever and you could probably see this arm moving up and down. Yeah, and all that's doing is working the jaw. We've got the shrinker one in there at the minute. This is the stretcher. And there's really nothing to it. It's such a simple idea, but there is a couple of bits to it, and that is literally all it is. It's insane, isn't it? Right, so on this one, essentially you've got this is in two parts and it does move. And on here there's some very, very, very fine serrations, okay? And if you can see, it's sprung loaded, so it springs out. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. But that sits on top of here, which is basically just a smooth ramp, okay? And as you can see, there's a gap there. So if you were to press down on this bit, it would slide down the ramps and it would open out the bottom jaw, okay? The serrations obviously just grip any material that you fed in the slot. So that would go in there, on top of it. Yeah? Sweet. This bit obviously goes on top, and essentially it's the same sort of thing. Again, this moves, it's got the little serrations on it, and it's got another ramp on top. Okay? So that would go in there. Piece of metal goes in the middle, like that. And again, it's got that gap. So as you push down on this bit, it's going to force those two jaws apart and the bottom two jaws. The serrations will grab hold of the material in the middle and it basically just pulls it and it stretches it a tiny bit at a time. This one you can put, I think it's 1.2 or 1.5 in. I've been doing some Googling and having a look at YouTube clips and all that sort of stuff, and you can actually do quite a lot with one of these. The shrinker one basically is the reverse of this, so instead of forcing the jaws apart, it forces them together. there's a couple of things to bear in mind. Is that obviously if you're using a stretcher and you're stretching the material, then essentially the material is going to get thinner, as I get it. And I'm not sure at what point it cracks, but there's going to be a point. We'll find out in a minute, because I'm going to have a play and break some stuff. Hopefully not that. But obviously with the shrinker where you're squashing all the material together, it does get closer. So there is also going to be a limitation as to how much curve you can put into it and still get the material in between the jaws. I have no idea what it is. I've never used one. But it's a real clever, simple bit of kit. It's heavy too. I don't know how much it weighs, but it is solid. I mean, that's got to be, what, 8mm thick? About that? Yeah, about 8mm thick. Bar's bigger. But it's a proper bit of kit. Handle's all solid and stuff. You don't go in that far, which I was quite amazed at, but yeah, it is pretty beef. There's mounting points on the bottom of it, so you could stick it on a stand or something. Just like a couple of bolt holes. This one is basically a captive bolt that goes up, and it's got a spring that attaches to the other end of this. So as you let it go, it pulls the jaw back up. Yeah, it's just all under tension. It's only a little spring, but there you go. And it's just such a simple design. The deep throat ones are better, but they cost a bloody fortune. I was looking online, how much was it? 550 quid or something. I saw one at 700 quid. I was gobsmacked. But basically all it means is that a deep throat one, you can put more material in here. So all this bit is opened out, so obviously has the metal curves, it's got somewhere to go. And they're obviously longer this way as well, because it still needs to be rigid. So the plate is bigger. But yeah, it just sort of goes like that. The jaws on this one are obviously, they've got this single bracket that goes around the outside. The other ones don't, because obviously the metal would only ever go in as far as the jaws would allow to there. I want to see what sort of shapes I can get out of this, because if I can't do what I want, might end up cutting that. And I'll make another body for it that's got a big old opening in here, because I can take the guts out of this, stick it in a new shell which I can make. I've got some 8mm plate and stuff. I've got more than enough to do it, I think. And we'll have the guts out of this, and we'll stick it in that one and see what that does. That's if I need to go that far. If I can get what I want out of this, then fine, I'll just use it, and I'll make a deep throat version later on. But that's what it is. So we're going to be playing with this today and see quite how much of a curve and a bend we can get, and how you use it, and see what we can do. There's going to be a number of things I want to try. I've got a whole load of questions which nobody seems to cover on the videos on YouTube. So I've cut out a basic shape, and all we're going to start off doing is shrinking the edge, the rounded bit, and like up to here, because I want to see how much of a bow I can get into this. And because I'll be shrinking it, the material is obviously going to get thicker. This is 1.2mm thick. And it's not a perfect shape, it don't need to be. I just want to see what it can do, because there's going to be a limit where you just end up getting this weird bow in the end of it, I think. But we'll have a look, see. And then I want to know what happens if you cut the shrunk bit off, because nobody shows you that. I don't know if the metal's been stretched and stressed enough that it then keeps its new shape, or if as soon as you cut the shrunk bit off, it all just goes back to how it was. I ain't gonna be dead flat, I know, but how much does it go back? I don't know. And then what we'll probably end up doing is putting a 90-degree bend in it, and then bending just that flange. So if you can imagine, I'll draw a line here and bend this up 90 degrees. If I then shrink this, it's obviously going to do that. So that'll put a bend in it that way. And I don't know, I reckon a combination of all these things could get us the seat hump that we want, but I don't know until I try. So that's what we're doing today, and if it all goes swimmingly well, then I might end up with the start of a seat hump. If it doesn't, that's coming to bits. I'm really not sure if Steve-O's going to be happy with me chopping it up, but inquiring minds need to know. And I can just put another couple of holes in there with a couple of screws to keep this guard there, because all it's doing is keeping the jaws in line. There's nothing, there's nothing major to it, I don't think, but we shall see. Yeah, let's give that a go, eh? Right, that's not going anywhere. Happy days, happy days. Right. Pom pom pom. Do I want to mark it so I know where I'm? Yeah, I probably will do actually. Where's my Sharpie? Only reason I'm doing this is so I know kind of where I've been shrinking it. And a number of times I've gone over it. So I'll just write it on the sheet. So how big's that? God, it's big, isn't it? Right, so the jaws of this is 50mm from there to there. Bloody hell. 50mm. See, that's going to limit, I suppose, the amount. I don't know, but why am I using a stupid small rule? That's probably going to limit the amount of curve you can get to it, just because you're not going to be able to get the jaws in. So 210, so 105 is about there. So that'll do. And then roughly, if I mark off a straight line from the inside, 50mm. Ain't got to be exact. I just want a reference, you know. Not having used one before, it's good to know these things. Oh, about there. What are you doing, you plum? There. That's about there. Right. Ain't got to be exact, I just want to know where I am. Cool, so start in the middle or an end? I don't know. God, it miles it up a bit, doesn't it? Not doing anything. A little bit. Oh, hello. Cool, you've got to get some force behind it. Bloody hell. Right. It's got the tiniest little bow in it. Tiny. That is not exerting a great deal of pressure, is it? But then I suppose I don't know. Maybe if I start like halfway in. It's not moving. What am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong? I can't be. That's it. That's all it does. That's proper. Oh, maybe this is too thick. How thick is it? I'm sure it's 1.2, which is like the upper end of what it can do. .6. I know. Oh no, 1.5. There we go. These things are shit. They really are rubbish. Measure it 10 different times, you get 10 different readings. Well, not rubbish. I mean, oh yeah, 1.45 now. It's going to be 1.5, isn't it? .5. How big's that? 1.5. They're all from the same chip-ins. What else have I got? Right, I think this is thinner. .8. .8 is Galvy. Right, I'm going to chop a bit of this off, because that's going nowhere. It's really hard pushing down on it as well. I suppose if I had a longer lever, you better get more pressure. Have I got another bar? Have I got something I could use for a bar? I don't think I have. Or if it was like foot operated, so a little bit of movement, well sorry, a lot of movement on a foot pedal equates to a little bit more up here. I mean, that could be a way to do it, but it's, yeah, I think this is just too much. Right, with that, it's just over half the thickness of this. Let's have a bash with that one, I think. And we'll see what we can do. Yeah. Right, I need to figure some stuff out. Because what I might do is have a go at making half the seat ump with that, just to see what sort of a shape I can get. Let me get the template off, we'll have a play. Right, so what I've done, just cut off a little triangle. And what I'm going to do is shrink it on this edge. The theory says it's going to draw that in and it's going to start putting a curve in it that way and that way. I don't know, I just want to see. Because that other stuff was really hard to do. Like, massively hard. You're pushing down on it like anything and just nothing's going anywhere. So let's give this a go. Oh. It is hard. But I suppose you are trying to shrink metal at the end of the day. I need to sort my vice out. Oh, hello. Something's moving. Oh. I just took the paint off it. Let's get a bit more in there. It's going, look. Well, that's one pass. Can you see that? It started to bend a little bit. Only a little bit, but God, this is hard work. Right, so let's try going between them. So, ugh. Oh, hello. Moving again. It's like going to the gym. I should get Steve-O doing this. A bit more, it is starting to pucker. Look at that. And that's with just a little bend like that. Right. I know it's not going to be a seamless thing. Stuff it, I'll keep going. Which one is it? That way. So if I put that there. Bloody hell. Ice is moving again, but I'm having to lean on it like anything to get any sort of movement out of the thing. See, it's definitely puckering up here more and more. I don't know if you can you see this? Where are you? Right, so if I turn it and catch it in the light, I mean, we have definitely got a bend going on. Not much of one at all, really. And already it's starting to, can you see this? It's like puckering on the edge line. So you can see the serrations, hopefully. Is this working? Can you see the serrations down the edge there? Right, that's obviously where the jaws are gripping it and shrinking it. But it's only shrinking the bit that's covered by the serrations. So the bit that's not, this bit, the first, I don't know, 20 mil, is starting to pucker, which is no good. I can't have that. And this is where a deep throat one would be better, because I could do a little bit of shrinking here, a little bit less here, a little bit less here. Sorry, a little bit less there, and get more and more as I get towards the outside. And that would pull it all in more without all this puckering. But as it is, I'm only really affecting the size of the metal on this serrated bit, which is all I can get in the jaws. I think I need to make a deep throat one. I keep saying deep throat. It's curving it. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Can you see? Hang on. There we go. Really hard working in reverse. So you can see here it's starting to crown. That bit there. So this bit is all sort of a fairly even curve, and so is this bit here. But this bit is starting to bunch up. Like one of those old cereal dishes, you know, with the big bit around the top. I need a deep throat one. I need to make a deep throat one. How am I going to do that? Right. Because all this, I'm pretty sure I could dress out. But I wouldn't really want to go more than a mil thickness, because it is really hard work. This needs to be mounted more solidly, because it is shifting about in here something stupid. So I think we need to have a little bit of thought there. It'd be kind of cool if I had a plate that went top of, like, if there was a plate that came out here for the top of the jaw, and there was another one that went underneath it, so it kind of slid on, then you clamp it down. That would be great. I think I need to sort out how this is. Oh no, that's okay. It just seems like it was moving. Well, it is, it's the whole bloody bench, isn't it? Look. Right, I need to sort that out as well then. I might turn it round. Don't know. Every day's a school day. And some lessons you fail. But you learn from them, I suppose. So it's not that bad. I've got to think how much of these little ripples and stuff are going to dress out, which probably means getting a plenishing hammer on it. Then I'm going to end up with loads of little dinks in it. But that stuff is just too thick. It would do it, but I went over that a good few times and it's still bloody straight as anything. So I think that is just too thick. If I had an English wheel, job done. But I ain't got one of them. So what would happen if I put a 90 degree in there then, and then shrunk the 90 degrees? I don't know. Let's give that a bash. Right, little change of setup this time. I've got, I've just cut another triangle, same as the other bit, and this time I've put like a 90 degree flange in here. So the idea this time is I'm going to shrink that flange, which will hopefully make it do that, and it'll put a bend in this bit. Don't know if it's going to work or not. I've also put a bit of bracing and stuff underneath this. I'll need to flatten it down though. Come on. Sturdy. Right, and we'll see how we go with this. No idea if it's going to work, but we'll give it a bash. Right, can't get it all the way into the jaws, which is typical. Actually, I'm going to mark this because I was all over the shop earlier on. So let's put 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. There we go. So that's just going to be a reference for me for my shrinking. Right, let's give that a bash. So I did that one. Where was that? That was there. So I'll do one in the middle there. Already done that one. One in the middle. One in the middle. Oh, this seems to be going a bit more. Oh, okay. Why didn't I do it this way to start off with? Right, so that's just with one pass. You see that? Which is basically a little bit more curve on this one than there is on the first one that I did just by shrinking it flat. Well, it worked, don't get me wrong. Made a mess of it, but that's actually going. Right, let's do another one. And the more it's curved, I now can't get as much of the material into the jaws, because obviously the width of the jaws hasn't changed, but the material is now curved. So I guess I'm getting, I don't know, 3/4 the way in, maybe a little bit more. And the cool thing about it is the bit that's curved isn't marked up with any serrations from the jaws or anything else, so it's actually not looking bad. And a bit more there. Right, look at that. There is a little bit of marring up on the very corner, but the way I did this is I sandwiched it between two of these and just beat it with a ball peen hammer. So a lot of that is just me. But, which leads me on to another question actually. If I was just to cut this off, would it all spring back? Don't know. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to see how tight I can get it. Because to do the seat count in one piece, I would need to get this down to a 3-inch radius, so it's 6 inches wide, 180 degrees. I might be able to do it with a bigger flange, because the thing is, if I started out with a bigger flange, then it would just pucker up on the edge again, like that first one did, I think. I don't know, give it a go. But one thought was, we'll shrink it a bit, then cut off the bit that's all chewed up and marry and everything else, and shrink the next bit, sort of thing. I don't know, that's going. Yeah. How far off is it? That's not far off. Another one, we might have something. Let's keep going, I suppose. See, when Matt from Merchfat does this, he's not grunting and groaning like I am. But he probably knows what he's doing. I quite like figuring stuff like this out, it's cool. You sort of learn by your own mistakes. Oh, last one. That's quite a cool curve actually. And that ain't far off. That's it. Oh, that could work. It does need to curve down. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? How do I really want to do this? I'm not sure. See that? And that's with not many passes, and it's not puckered up or anything on this surface. It's all quite nice. The ripples that is in it is from where I was dinking it with the hammer. It is a bit. Can you see that? It sort of so it almost goes flat here and more rounded here. I don't know. Am I showing you that right? I don't know. Where is it? That's that. Can you see that shape? It has chewed all this up, but theory says I would just cut that off anyway. It's not bad. A deep throat one would be better. I want to make a deep throat one, because then I could chomp it wherever I wanted to. Let's find out what happens if I cut that flange off, because I'm not convinced that this is just going to keep its shape. I don't think it will. Might have to leave just a little bit. Well, actually, I suppose we could do that. Cut half of it off and see what happens. Yeah. Right. Let's do that then. Right, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to, it's not totally flat, but that'll be fine. And it's tipping down here, but I think that's because it's shorter here and longer there, I think. But what I want to know is what happens to the curve when we cut the flange off. So I'm just going to draw a line around the outside. Like that. And then I'm going to cut half this off with a grinding wheel. And I'm going to stick it back on there again and see has it sprung out again or not, or you know, whatever. Because I'm thinking about this, and to get the curve in it, if I was to do something similar but have another flange on here and another flange on there, and it keeps its shape after I've cut the flanges off, then I could shrink these bits and those bits to get the curve that way, and I can shrink that bit to make it do that. So I would then be able to control the curve in all directions. And then once it's curved to how I want it, I'll just mark it and cut off the bit in the middle that I want. That might work. Right, where's the grinding wheel? Right, so as you can see, all I've done is I've chopped half of it off. You see that? Right. So if we was to stick that in there and that in there, it hasn't lost its shape. It's still got it. So I could put a flange in, shrink it, get the shape I want and cut the flange off, or half of it off. Wonder what happens if you cut all of it, because there is still, I don't know, 5mm of crimp marks I suppose. It doesn't get right up to the very edge, apart from on the first pass that I did, and then it probably stands back because you've got the thickness of the material, so it's the inside bit. So it's only probably, I don't know, 4mm of crimping, and that was the first pass. And then every time I did it again, obviously because of the curve you can't get the jaw in quite so far, so it's less and less each time. Let's cut the whole thing off. Right, so I've cut the whole thing off. As you can see, it's lost most of its shape. So it's now about it's about 40mm wider, and it's lost half its height. So it's lost half its bend like that. So we need to keep some. Boom, 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 boom. Well, it's worth knowing that. I wonder if I did another one, if you heat it up, would it kind of relax? Because this is obviously under stress, because it's all been shrunk and stuff, and this bit's not been touched, so it's the edge of it that's forcing it to keep its shape. So all this is going to be stressed out. However, I think I'm right in saying that if you heat metal up when it's under stress, I don't know how hot you have to get it, but if you heat it up and then let it cool down, it kind of relaxes it. So whatever shape it's in, it will keep its shape. Maybe I'll try that. Should I try that? Why wouldn't I try that? Does that do it? I need to Google. Where's my phone? I need to. Here we go. Yeah, that didn't work. What happened is I burnt myself. Anyway, what I think I'm going to do. You don't live there. What are you? What I think I'm going to do is have a go at making a deep throat shrinker stretcher. See, I quite look. What I can. What's the best way to explain? On a seat hump, if I get basically a strip of metal and I put a flange on the front and the back, I'll be able to shrink that flange and get the curve perfect on the back and how I want it, where the seat pad is going to butt up against it. To get the curve from the front to the back of the hump, I need to get the shrinker stretcher in there, and I need to make it out of quite thin stuff as well. I'm thinking this 0.8 stuff could be a goer, because it's quite malleable. It's quite, but once you get it bent, it's really strong. I mean, like really strong. You ain't gonna, you know, it's not gonna flop about or anything else. It's just I need to try and sort out this hump, and if I could shrink it up here a little bit, and then more and more and more as I get to the edge, and then there'd be a flange on here which basically puts the edge shape into it. I could get a nice smooth curve out the whole thing, but to do it, I need a deep throat one. So I'm not going to cut that one up because I quite like it, and Steve-O bought it for me, so I can't just like muller it. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some of this 8mm thick steel. It's got loads of mil scale. I'll probably shove it in the shot blaster or something just to get all this crap off it. I probably don't need to actually. Well, I don't know. I'll do it anyway. And then I can chomp this in half, pretty much. And I could make a shrinker stretcher out of that. But one with a bit of a throat to it, so I can get into the middle of the hump and put a bit of a shape into it. I reckon it'll work. I reckon it would. Can't see any reason why it wouldn't. And then hopefully I'll be able to go over it with a DA and take out any of the little marks and mars and all that sort of stuff and leave quite a nice finish. And I'd still have the flange on for where the seat would butt up to it, so I could do something funky with that as well. And put like a little lip on the edge of the seat so the pad's got something to locate into. I reckon this is a good idea. I'm going to do that. Why not? Why wouldn't you do that? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I haven't lost anything. And I don't have to, I'm going to need to cut that bracket. That's the only thing I'm going to need to, this bit here on the jaws, I'm going to need to slot that bit there out so the metal can go all the way in. But what I'm thinking of is I'll just stick another hole in here, drill and tap another hole in the case of the shrinker stretcher just to keep these in place, and that'll all be fine. It's only just to keep these jaws from falling out forwards when you're using it. So it's not under any load, it's just a guide. But I reckon that'll work. Yeah, don't know why I thought heating the metal up would do anything. It didn't. Not at all. This is Steve-O's handiwork. Look at that. So, you got the oil cooler off, as you can see. I think it did get bashed when he was taking it off, so we think it's got a hole in it. But this is all on a dolly that moves around. So we can just shove it around the workshop, and it's just going to make things a bit easier for Mr. Mann when he comes to doing the vapour blasting. This is Steve-O's first attempt at welding. First attempt, I think. So he wasn't too chuffed with the results. If you look at the welds, they're not the prettiest, I'll grant you that. However, for a first go, he's actually made something that sticks. It looks horrible, but it sticks and it's strong and it's doing the job. And at the end of the day, that's all you need a weld to do. If you want it to look pretty, grind it down, eh? But I think he did quite well on that. For a makeshift knock-up, that's all right, and it's like all sturdy and stuff. It's not going anywhere. We got it on a little pallet because that way I can strap it down, and when we get to send it off to the vapour blasters. But I think he did all right on that. I think he did all right. Yeah. So anyway, I hope you kind of get the gist as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think it's going to work. I really do think it's going to work. It's just a bit of faffing about to get there, basically. But once I've made the tool, I can use it on all sorts of stuff. And there's going to be quite a few projects. Quite a lot of them are going to have that kind of bodywork done to it as well. So, a little bit of mucking about and reuse what you got, and we could end up with something that does the job a lot more than just this once. And I do really like the idea of just making everything that I possibly can do. I know I'm new to all this. I've not done this sort of stuff before. And if it works, I'll be well chuffed. I think that's going to work out. So that's where we're going to leave it today. Thank you ever so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you're first time here and stuff, you like what you see, you got the option to subscribe as always and do the little bell thing so you get notified when a new video comes up. Steve-O's going to be back hopefully not next weekend, the weekend after. So hopefully we can make some good ground on this and we can walk him through it and see what he says. Because once we get to that point, we can really go to town and start building stuff again, which is the whole idea at the end of the day. Be a shame to do all this and just end up with a bucket full of bits. Anyways, there you go. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time. Laters.